What if I told you that a secret cabal controls American politics? Really America. About 140 families, and if you're watching this video, you ain't one of them. Would you believe me? Would you think I'm a nut? You think I'm some conspiracy alone showing up in one of those big American flag hats with ivermectin at some Trump rally in the middle of nowhere? I wish it was just some nutty thing. But it's true. About 140 families, as reported by numerous outlets, including the New York Times, have such wealth, such concentrated wealth, that they run what goes on in this country. Now, you may be familiar with former Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis. He had a famous quote about this. He said, "We can have democracy in this country, or we can have great wealth concentrated in the hands of a few. We can't have both." Here, watch Lawrence Lessig right here as he really tears into this. He goes to the heart of what is wrong with our politics and how money's corrupting it.
Henry David Thoreau used to say, for every 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil, there's one striking at the root. This is the root. And it's the root because what every politician knows is that they can't take on any issue that's likely to trigger response of these massive super PACs. And what makes them important, what makes them dangerous, in my view, is not necessarily the amount of money. I'm not sure how much money we should spend in politics. What makes them dangerous is the incredibly small number of people who actually control what those super PACs do. What's important here is the concentration in donors to a very small, the New York Times estimated something like 140 families were controlling American politics because of the size of these super PACs. And that concentration means if you take on an issue these super PACs don't, you have no chance to survive in American politics. Here's a very clear example. We're experiencing an incredible range of climate crises right now. Arizona has had 30 days straight of 110-degree weather. 20 years ago, they thought wouldn't happen until 2100, but now might happen as soon as 2025, that the Gulf Stream inverts. All of this because we've not done anything effective about climate change. Why? People might not remember, but until 2010, both the Republicans and the Democrats believed in climate change and believed they had a solution to fixing the problem of climate change. In 2008, John McCain thought he had a better plan than Barack Obama, and maybe he did. But the point is, there was no problem, there was no shame in acknowledging the problem of climate change. Then in 2010, the Koch brothers began to make it known that any Republican who even acknowledged the truth of climate change would find themselves challenged in their primary. And almost overnight, the Republican Party went from a party that had a different set of ideas for solving the problem of climate change to a party that couldn't even acknowledge the truth of climate change. And that was because literally a handful of people decided that they would spend their billions of dollars to make sure that this issue was not a viable issue for Republicans, which means not a viable issue in the United States Congress, given how close the division is with the role of the filibuster in Congress. So the point is, this is not a democracy. This is a banana republic democracy when a tiny few have this ability to veto what the majority would want, and they can do that because of these super PACs.
If you follow this stuff, and if you're watching me right now, you probably follow this stuff. You're then aware that it's like whack-a-mole, right? You get the Mercers and Kochs and other right-wing billionaires who jump in and distort, destroy, enrich themselves, corrupt our politics. If one of them gets a little bit nervous, let's say a Peter Thiel, he doesn't like the way he's being talked about in the press, or the Mercers, they jump out of it. And then we get a Richard Uihlein, the guy that just spent $4 million of the $4.85 million to try to buy Ohio's Constitution. These families exert the kind of influence that ends democracies.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit.
Luckily, Lawrence Lessig, he's got some solutions to this problem. Those super PACs can be regulated like politicians can be, and we can limit the amount of money that goes to them. Otherwise, we're going to need an enormous electoral victory like the one we just had in Ohio and like the Wisconsin Supreme Court election and others like that. Republican ass-kicking, folks, is what we're going to need. Because if we're going to undo what these guys have done to our politics and make this a democracy again, the rich guys, the billionaires, they can't be a part of the solution. They should watch from the sidelines.